Good day, everybody. Rob Mazak here. Some of you know who I am, some don't. So, I am a psychic medium, and I am not necessarily here to talk about those types of things, nothing so much metaphysical, spiritual, but I want to take a few moments and talk about a subject that seems to be very misunderstood. I speak to a lot of clients, through services such as life coaching and Reiki and just on and on and on, different services. And I spend a lot of time challenging other people to really look at their lives a different way, perhaps, or think about things in a different way. And one of the answers I get a lot when I ask what it is they really want out of life, most people will tell me, I just want to be happy. And my direct question to that is always, what does it mean to be happy? What would you consider a state of happiness? And what I find is most people don't really know what that means. Now, I guess none of us really do. But what does it really mean to be happy? Is it simply the avoidance or the absence of hard times, struggles, depression, anxiety? Is it truly just trying to escape those types of mentalities? Or is there really a state of happiness? Because as different as every human being is, there must be just as many definitions of happiness. So happiness could be defined as, say, for example, you've just had Christmas dinner with all your family and your friends, and it's just that just lovely, satisfied feeling with a full belly, maybe some little alcohol in you or whatever. And there's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go, no work to be done, just simply hanging out and enjoying your family. Now, that may be one way of looking at happiness, but if you're looking for that eternal state of happiness, then a definition like that clearly wouldn't be easy to maintain because, let's face it, we all do have to go to work. We do all have things to do. We all do have struggles that we have to go through. We have things that we simply can't avoid if we want to continue to live in this reality as a human being. So I don't think, in my mind, that that's really a solid definition. So what really is happiness, right? So I think it really comes down to one thing, to be honest, is that happiness, I think, comes from not achieving goals, not reaching goals, because I don't think that's really happiness. I think that's might be satisfaction or some other way of describing it, but I don't think that's happiness, because success usually means you're reaching for a goal that's a single point or a destination, if you will, or something very specific and particular. And that would be a very fleeting moment of happiness, if you ask me. So in my opinion, I think it's the struggle, the pursuit of your goals that brings happiness. The little bitty wins along the way, the accomplishments that, easy for me to say, right? Accomplishments that you achieve along the way towards a goal or towards goals. And I think it's within that struggle and the climbing of the mountain that the biggest joy is found. Because I believe we are here as human beings to learn what it's like to see what it is we can withstand, what it is we can put ourselves through and still come out as a winner, so to speak, on the other side. What could we possibly put ourselves through, survive, and thrive? And, I think at least in my mind, if I'm doing that, if I'm pushing myself, if I'm pushing my body, if I'm pushing my mind, I'm studying, I'm grinding, I'm working, I'm doing whatever it takes to reach goals. I think in that paradigm is where I find happiness, at least. It's not so much in, because, let's think about it this way. We just had a Super Bowl, right? Kansas City Chiefs and the 49ers. And, that took football season's about 7 months, 8 months, something like that. And that was a very, very big struggle. And to get to the Super Bowl is amazing, right? I mean, you have to go through a lot. And in the game itself, I didn't watch it, but I understand it was really down to the wire, right? Overtime and all this stuff. And that was a struggle as well. But think about being on that field and the celebration is over, the crowds die down, and then you kind of sit there and look at yourself and go, is that it? I won the Super Bowl, or my team won the Super Bowl, and, well, now what? So you're kind of left, hanging, if you will. And so I think you're kind of hopefully seeing my point is it's not so much the joy and the happiness of winning. Yes, that's wonderful. But that's momentary. That's only in small quantities. Just a momentary bout of happiness and joy. And I would love to be there too. I would love to win a Super Bowl. I'd love to be able to do all those things. But the winning of it is not really, I don't think, the where we find our solace and our happiness. It's those 7 months of the struggle and the grind and the planning and the film watching and the workouts and the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning workouts, outside of what your coach does, trying to improve yourself and a little bit better every day and finding yourself at the other end of this Super Bowl win a hugely different person, much different person. And then once we reach that mountaintop, if we just sit back and rest on our past achievements, who are we really then? Because I can guarantee you that nobody that I know really cares what I used to be. They only care what I am now and what I can do for them or to help them or to help myself. The past is no longer here. And so, you can look at, I'm a military guy. You can look at my uniform and I got badges and ribbons and awards from one end to my uniform to the other, but I can guarantee you that put all those on eBay, I probably couldn't even buy a cup of coffee with those things, right? With the sale of that. And so, yes, my past accomplishments are wonderful, and those are things to revel in because that's what made me who I am. But that's not what's going to carry me on through the rest of my life. I have to achieve new goals, new desires, new mountaintops every day, every year, right? Because if I'm not moving forward, I'm just sitting around getting fat and lazy and not contributing to the evolvement of this planet, right? We're all part of this sea. We're all individual drops of water in this sea of the cosmos of the universe, or however you like to look at that. And without all our contributions, we wouldn't have a sea. We wouldn't have a universe. So we all have to play our part. And if all we're doing is sitting around watching TV, drinking beer, doing all those things, going to work, eat, buy, work, consume, die, all that, what's the point? I think we are here as humans, whether we chose to be here or not. You could look at that paradigm, past lives, reincarnation, however you want to look at it. I do believe that we were put here either by choice or by someone else's choice, however you would like to look at that, to learn something and to realize how much more we can be, how much more we can become than just a a consumer that grinds through work and money and buying and then dying. I just don't think that's the plan. Because if all we're here is to do that, then we're no better than a bunch of ants in an ant farm or goldfish in an aquarium. Somebody to stare at us and, oh, look at the pretty humans. I don't think with our level of consciousness that we are simply here to be somebody's zoo. And I think that within that is where happiness, so to speak, quote unquote, can be found. I also don't think it's simply the absence of pain and discomfort and struggle. Granted, I would rather be without those things, absolutely. But those kind of things also help drive us, if you think about it. Because if we end up sitting around watching TV, drinking beer like I talked about before, doing not much of anything, we're going to get fat, we're going to get lazy, and pain will show up. Problems will show up. Illnesses will show up. And sometimes that's what's going to wake us up to go, oh, this is not happiness. I guarantee you that. And unfortunately, many of us will blame other people or other things on the reasons we're ill or out of shape or dysfunctional in some way, shape, or form. But it really comes down to us, right? If you think about it. Happiness then becomes a choice, does it not? And I choose happy. Now, a lot of people think of happiness as, like just, I don't know, I guess laughing all the time and being, smiling and cheerful. But I can tell you, you can look at some people that have what most people call, I'll just say it, the resting bitch face, right? That, they look like they're mad all the time. But if you talk to them, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm absolutely having the time of my life, right? And so it's not really an outward expression. I don't think happiness is that at all. I think it's what we get indoctrinated to believe because we're watching movies, we're looking at Hollywood, and the idea of happiness is really having everything you want and everything you can desire and just being, free and carefree and making all the choices you want without any cares. But let's be honest, in this world, it's never been that way. As long as I've been alive, I'm over, I'm in my 60s. All the stories I've heard from my father and his father and on is this world has never been easy. It has never been carefree. And don't get me wrong, there are those people out there that have those kind of lives. But if you really talk to those people that you think are happy because they have all the money in the world, they have every kind of car they want, every kind of house they have, you'll find that they have the same struggles. Now, granted, they might have more choices because they have those things. They could choose their pain, but they all still struggle. Not having money is a struggle. Having lots of money is a struggle. Because if you don't have money, you don't have the things you need and you're not comfortable and, you may not eat, you may not have money to pay electricity bill or whatever. But if you have a lot of money, most of them people spend a lot of their day in their life worrying about somebody taking that away from them. And I don't know which is worse, to be honest. I mean, I would really like to be that rich to see what it feels like, but I'm kind of talking metaphorically because I don't know what that's like. I'm just imagining what that might be like because I do know I known a few people over my life that really have it, they're well off and they have the same struggles as we do. They still have health problems. They still have all these things. So I don't think money is happiness either. Now, granted, like I said, having money will allow you to have more choices for sure. Because if you don't have money, choices are made for you. So, but I don't think it's money either. And, you know, it could be relationships too, if you think about it. Okay, let's talk about that, right? So relationships can make you happy, but everybody that's been in a relationship, whether a friend, a wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, they will tell you that it's a struggle. I mean, there are great times and there are bad times. And, you know, it can help create happiness, but I guarantee you there's not an entirety of happiness within a relationship. And there are some, yes, don't get me wrong, there are some that are so unearthly perfect that it seems almost unbelievable or made up or some fable, right? But that's very far and few between. You know, as good as any relationship can be, guess what? There's fleeting moments of happiness. There's not a consistent happiness within a relationship. You know, and so once again, our relationships where happiness is found, I don't know. I mean, you know, some people need people in their life and some people don't. And so we all have to have relationships of some sort, whether they're intimate, whether they're work related, whether they're just friendship. I mean, you deal with people all the time. So, you know, is dealing with people and relationships almost every minute of your day going to create happiness? I doubt it, right? Because, you know, if you're in any relationship with somebody for any length of time, you will find some days you're like, why did I ever do this? Right? And other days you're like, I'd give $1 million to keep this forever. And so, okay. So maybe having children is will make you happy. You know, you hear that a lot. Well, if I could just have some children, that would create so much happiness in my life. I can tell you that most people that have raised children will probably tell you otherwise, right? I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. I'm just saying it is very hard, very, very laborious, and a very big struggle to raise children. Every now and then, you run across people that say, my kids have been absolutely perfect. There's never been a problem. But once again, you don't find that very often. And so is happiness found within children or raising children? Yes and no, right? But I think the point here is that I'm trying to make is that a lot of people think that they will be happy when. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I reach these goals. I'll be happy when I found a lifetime partner. I will be happy when I reach a certain point in my career. I will be happy when I finish my college degree. You know, it's almost like we're looking for something to make us happy. But I don't think that's the secret either. Because if we're always waiting to be happy, do you think we'll ever be happy? I don't think so. I know many, many people that think that happiness comes in some future event. And I don't think that is true either. I think happiness is simply a decision. And a decision because we can't avoid what life brings to us. We can't avoid what happens to us in our lives. Things are going to happen. Bad things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen. Everything's going to happen. Even religious texts will tell you, right? You know, the good and the bad fall on the just and the unjust. It simply doesn't matter who you are. Life will challenge you. And I don't care how rich you are or how in depth you are in a relationship or how many kids you have or what kind of job you have. You will get slamboozled at times in your life. And it really comes down to, I think, to this, is that it depends on how you react to those problems. Because you cannot change what life does to you. You cannot avoid what life brings to you. But you can do something about your attitude. Your attitude is yours and yours alone. Now, nobody can create happiness for you. Nobody can create a good mood. Nobody can create a bad mood. Only you can do that, right? Now, granted, there are some situations that you say, well, that's got to be the fault of this other person because they just kept yelling at me, kept doing these things, or you had a coworker that just won't leave you alone, and whatever. But yes, those things can certainly bring you down. But the thing is, how can you react differently so that within you, you can maintain the right attitude that defines whatever happy is for you? And so I think you know where I'm going here. Happiness is not something that comes from without. Happiness is something that comes from within. And it really does come down to a choice. Are you going to allow your emotions to run rampant, the thoughts in your mind to just go where they want, to relive your past over and over and over again, all the bad times just keeps trouncing through your head, feelings just show up unannounced and you don't do anything about them? I don't think that's the way to live life. I think it is time for us as humans to take charge of who we are, to take charge of our feelings, to wrangle as many thoughts as we can and push them into a positive direction. If you think about a garden, for example, if you have a garden of roses, I would say not a garden, but you have, well, I guess a garden. You have a bunch of roses growing in a garden or a bed of dirt, right? And if you allow the weeds to overgrow those roses, they will never have a chance to thrive and survive. So if you look at the roses as happiness and the weeds as all those things that are trying to dim down your happiness or to change it or to create a wrong attitude within you, life happens, your girlfriend breaks up with you, whatever, then you don't have a chance at happiness, right? So you can look at it a couple ways. You can decide to spend a bunch of time trying to remove the weeds, right? Spend a lot of time on the negative so that the positive and the roses can grow. That's one way to do it. But if you're focusing everything on the negative, you're forgetting that you still have to pay attention to the positive. You have to pay attention to the roses. If all you're trying to do is rid yourself of the weeds, that's the only thing that has your attention, and that's the only thing that will actually continue to grow. In the words of a therapist that my daughter had, why don't you spend so much time trying to grow those roses so robust and so big that you simply choke out the weeds, and any weeds that show up will not even matter or hinder you? I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to, isn't it? We need to choose happiness. We need to choose our attitude. We need to determine what feelings we're going to allow to have in our life and grow them as big as we possibly can, so that any time a weed or a bad thought or a bad time in life shows up, it doesn't have a chance to thrive, because the roses, the good things, the attitude, the happiness is simply using up all the water and the nutrients in the ground, and the weeds don't have anything to thrive on. Anyway, I shall digress from my rant, but I just wanted to address this topic because the idea of happiness is so vague and so indescribable and so different for everybody. I think it just needed to be discussed. And I challenge each of you to decide what it is that you think happiness is, or what you think happiness is. And decide that you are going to choose happiness, and you're going to choose to water and nourish your roses instead of the weeds. Stay strong, live your life. Check me out, lifebymazak.com. Talk to you soon.